mystery writers. Welcome to Write a Killer Mystery, where we learn to make a good mystery great. And today I'm going to tell you about a great tool that you can create to help you track your clues in your mystery. First, I want to thank all my patrons on Patreon for their continued support of this video series, learning about writing mysteries, and for my mystery writing. And if you'd like to join us, there's a link in the description below. Okay, so let's talk about building your own clue tracker and why that's important and how you can use it. All right, your job as a mystery writer when using clues is to raise questions for your reader. And by raising questions, you build tension in your story because your reader wants to know, well, is this important? Or how does this clue work? Questions create that anticipation and that tension, and your reader wants to know how their question is going to be answered, right? Or even if their question is going to be answered. So what is a clue? Let's start with the basics. What is a clue in a mystery? In a mystery story, a clue is anything that points the detective toward the killer. And as a writer creating your story, you have endless possibilities to plant and hide clues along your storyline. And as you outline your plot, you can brainstorm ideas for what clues will lead your detective towards solving the puzzle. The thing is, remembering what clues you planted can be challenging when you're at, say, page 200 writing your mystery, and you planted clues at page 20 or page 45. You want to remember what those clues were. For example, if your clue is a red herring, your detective needs to track it down to discover that it's a dead end. One of the things about clues is you don't want to leave any clues hanging. Any clues that you plant in your mystery need to be resolved by the end of the story. So if your clue is a red herring, you need to let the reader know that it is a red herring. Your detective investigated it, and it turned out to be not a clue, as it were. All right, so enter the clue journal. If you keep a journal of your clues, you can use it in the same way that you use your character Bible with all the details of your characters. You can use it in the same way and keep a journal of your clues. So keeping a clue journal will help you close the loop on each clue that you have, so you won't have anything hanging. You'll know every clue you use in your story. You'll know if you've closed the clue or not. And you'll know how the clue raises questions for your reader. And when you reach the editing stage, you'll be able to check each clue to make sure that you've closed that loop. And discovery writers, pantsers, can keep track of clues without planning beforehand. In other words, as you're doing your discovery writing, you add that clue to your clue journal, and whatever changes you make later, you could go back and make sure that that clue still works in your story. All right, and plotters can double check that each clue works in the story as well. All right. So let's talk about the reason that you actually use clues in a mystery, because as mystery writers, we have this special obligation to our readers to create these clues. Clues aren't something that are included in most other genres. So we have this special requirement that we need to fulfill for our readers. So you want to put yourself in the shoes of your reader. And in response to your questions, they're going to come up with a range of hypotheses based on what you've provided so far, what those clues are, and the evidence that you've provided. So you want to guide your reader toward an hypothesis, and then whisk the rug out from under them. Whoops, no, that wasn't the suspect. That suspect isn't the killer. Okay, all right? But you have clues along the way that suggest that possibly that suspect is the killer, and the reader's creating this hypothesis in their head that, I don't know, the suspect kind of feels like the one. So you're leading them to this hypothesis, which in this case, in that particular case, happens to be false. But whenever you use your clues, you want to make sure that there is a hypothesis for your reader, or that there could be a hypothesis if they actually notice the clues, because we've talked a lot before about hiding the essential clues. So the thing is, before I get too off track in my head here, the thing is that you want to raise those questions, and the clues raise the questions for your reader. So it's helpful to write out the hypothesis you want readers to reach, and then work backwards. You want them to think X, and so you can work backwards and plant clues that lead them to this hypothesis that you want your reader to have. All right, so what about this clue journal? So somewhere in a notebook or on your computer, however you keep your character Bible, it's going to be the same kind of thing. You're going to keep your clue journal because your clues raise questions in your reader. You want to make sure that every question is answered before the end of your story. And if you don't want to leave your reader wondering about clues like, what about that opened box in the bedroom? Whatever happened with that? You don't want your readers to do that. You really want to close the loop. So if that open box in the bedroom sitting there was something that raised a question for your reader, you have to close the loop and let your detective decide that what seemed like a clue on page 20 actually meant nothing. You actually have to close that loop. You can't leave the reader hanging. All right, just wanted to make that clear. All right. So just as you use your character Bible for your characters, you can use your clue journal and tailor it to however you work. But I'm going to give you some suggestions for what you can track in your clue journal. All right. So here's some ideas. First of all, there's the clue itself. Name it. All right. For example, the unsigned note, the bank statement, the silver brooch, whatever it might be, just name the clue. All right. And what type of clue it is. You also can add details like that. So is it a physical clue, like a piece of evidence? Is it a verbal clue, like a statement that suspect made that raises questions? Is it circumstantial? Is it something like it's physical, but it's kind of tangential to the story? So it might be something like that unopened box in the bedroom. Okay. Where am I with this? So you want to name the clue. You want to state what type of clue it is. This is the kind of notes you make for yourself. All right. I think also as you're writing, it helps to jot down where it appears on the story, because you're going to make changes. Page 25 might not be page 25 at the end, but you can at least know what chapter that clue is in, all right? So you want to know where your clue appears in the story. And then I think a very important note to keep for yourself is the hypothesis you want your reader to create from this clue. For example, who the reader thinks the clue points to, or whether at the time of the introduction you want the reader to overlook the clue, because we've talked about hiding clues before. So note that down when you with your notes about that particular clue. This is a clue you want your reader to overlook, if that's what it is. All right, it's one of those clues that at the end they go, oh, I should have remembered, you know. So make a note to yourself what kind of clue it is and how you're going to, how the reader is going to. No, it's not even how the reader is going to respond. It's what you want. This is very intentional. It's what you want the reader to, what hypothesis you want the reader to create. All right. Okay. So how do you use this clue journal? Now you've, done that work, right? So mystery novels require clues as part of the structure of the story, and readers expect clues and want to create their own hypothesis about how to solve the mystery. That is one of the things that mystery readers really, really want. They treasure those clues that you create, all right? So that means clues for you as a writer are not an afterthought. Oh, I better put some clues in. I'll put in a red sweater with a stain on it or whatever. You really need to think about your clues and be deliberate about the clues that you use, and that essential element of creating a strong puzzle for your reader. That's what your clues are doing, all right? So you use your clue journal to plan and track the clues in your current story. You can start a clue journal for your next book. You may have some ideas about, say, you're writing a series and you have the next book kind of cooking in the back of your mind, and you can start a clue journal. It's never too early to start a clue journal for your next book. Just like you might think of a character you want to have in your next book, same thing. And also, you can keep your own personal journal of clues, as it were, as you're reading other mysteries and noticing how other writers use clues in their mystery. Not that you're going to use the same clues, but you're going to use the same kind of construct. Oh, that was really clever the way they did whatever it was they did. You can keep a clue journal for that, so then when you're starting your story, you can think about ways that you can plant clues in your story. So the benefit of keeping a clue journal is your clues will have a strong and integral role in your story for raising questions for your readers, which is what it's all about, raising those questions for your readers. And you're leading your readers to form either a correct or an incorrect hypothesis from the clues that you plant. And that mainly they keep your reader guessing. Okay, I hope that helps. I just recently discovered this idea, and I just latched onto it. I just thought, oh my gosh, this is so great. And so I thought I'd share it with you, because there's so much about story creation and story writing, and oftentimes they don't focus specifically on writing mysteries, and we do have this obligation to create clues, good clues, for our readers. All right, thanks so much. And once again, I want to mention that Audible is a sponsor for Write a Killer Mystery, and right now I am listening to David Hewson's The Medici Murders, which is set in Venice. It's really fun. It's an archivist who's involved in this investigation of a centuries-old murder and also a current murder. It's a really fun story, and I'm listening on Audible. And it's one of the ways that you can keep that journal of clues that other authors use and how they plant their clues and what they do with them. So if you haven't experienced Audible, there's a link to a 30-day free trial in the description below. All right, as always, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below in the comments, and keep writing, and I'll see you next time.